Welcome back. We are approaching the end of Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Here at KPRC2, we want to help those affected by breaking free. All month long, we've been having conversations with aid to victims of domestic abuse to raise awareness about the different effects that domestic violence can have. And joining me live in studio is AVDA CEO Maisha Coulter and Lieutenant John Klafka with Harris County Sheriff's Office. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
So, we want to talk today about the role of firearms, and I know that one of the questions that sometimes you ask a victim is, are there firearms in the home? Why is that so important to know, and what role do firearms play with domestic violence?
So one of the reasons we ask that question is because we're trying to assess the dangerousness or the lethality risk that a person is experiencing, and having easy access to firearms is probably one of the most critical things that we need to assess. Firearms are used about 60% of the time when it comes to intimate partner homicides. And so we're concerned about having those in the home and having someone who has threatened harm and has easy access to a firearm.
Does it have to be a situation that would have had, that kind of violence in the past, or can it be something where maybe there has been no physical attack, but you're afraid that it would still escalate that quickly?
Statistically, violence has already happened in the home, but certainly easy access to firearms is still alarming no matter what, and certainly when there's an escalation of arguments and threats of harm and firearms are around, then it's very concerning whether it's happened before or if it has happened never before.
Yeah. Lieutenant Klafka, so Harris County has a gun surrender program. How would that help to in situations like this? Does that actually help in getting guns out of the hands of people who would be causing domestic violence?
It does. We use it for protective orders. Whenever a person has been issued a protective order, they can by law no longer possess a firearm. So we give them a means to surrender their firearm, and if they successfully complete the end of their protective order and they can legally have that weapon again, then we give it back to them.
How can community organizations and law enforcement help you guys, or do more of these like gun surrender programs? Is there any suggestions that you have for community organizations?
Well, mostly we want people who are in these situations to understand that they can get protective orders, and once they have those protective orders, then they have the ability to get that gun removed from the person who has been committing harm against them. Community organizations just need to know that there are lots of partners out there like AVDA and other nonprofits that help survivors of domestic abuse. So being able to understand what resources are available and getting people to those resources is really critical. Calling our number, 713-224-9911, is a first step for a survivor or for someone who knows a person who's experiencing domestic violence.
Okay. I know you guys wanted me to ask you about the significance of the U.S. versus Rahimi case. Tell me about that and how that affects domestic violence cases and survivors.
Yeah, so recently the Supreme Court decided 8-1 that a person who has a protective order granted against them should not be able to have a firearm in their possession. And that was up for debate. So we spent 18 months, and that being the question. The case originated here out of Texas, and the person who had a firearm in their possession but also had a protective order granted against them because they had abused their intimate partner in public multiple times, went to the Supreme Court and said that they wanted to protect their Second Amendment rights. And so that was up for debate, but the Supreme Court said that it is important for those guns to be removed from people who commit that type of harm against their intimate partners.
You know, last week, you probably remember a case where, the person who was causing the domestic violence, he was then threatening law enforcement lives when they went to do when they went to serve him. At the time, the law enforcement out there said that these cases are a crisis in our area. And I saw that day, and then, other people were involved. It wasn't just the victim, it was like a whole neighborhood was then in trouble. What would you say in your experience? What do you see this? Do you see this as being a big problem in our area, and what can people do if they see it? You're mentioning cases that happened in public. I mean, people are there to witness this, so what can we do about it?
the best thing is call us. Call law enforcement. Let us know what's going on. Be our eyes and our ears. Let us know what we're walking into if they're able to do so from a safe distance. And it may not always be best to try and intervene because you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's true. At the time, they said that, you know, people were saying that law enforcement doesn't have the resources, but Sheriff Ed Gonzalez was saying we do have the resources. We have to know about it, though. We have to know when it happens, right?
Yeah, domestic violence thrives when there's shame and fear and secrecy. So we want people to be unashamed when they're experiencing it and to make sure that they reach out to the resources that are available. Law enforcement is here to help individuals and try to intervene safely, not just for the individual, but for also law enforcement. It is a dangerous call. I think it's the third most dangerous call that law enforcement have to intervene on is domestic violence calls.
I saw, like I said, we witnessed that just last week. So the resources that are available to people, they're available past this month. I know we highlighted a lot in October, but what do you want people to know going forward for the rest of the year?
Do not suffer in silence. We are here to help, and there are many, many organizations, people trained to help get you out of these situations safely, to give you resources so that you can stay out of them. And when I say resources, it might be financial assistance, it might be housing, but there is a lot of things available here in our area to help people get out safely and remain away from those people who might cause them severe harm.
All right, very good. Maisha Coulter and Lieutenant John Klafka, thank you so much for joining me in studio. Before I do let you go, is there anything else that you want people to know?
Just, we're here. There's a lot of people here to help that want to help. It takes a community to help everyone, and not a single one of us can do this by ourselves. We have to be here for each other so we can help everyone.
Yeah, and like I said, I think this month has really just highlighted how common this problem is in our area, and so we all just kind of need to have our eyes and ears a little more open.
Yep.
All right, thank you so much. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.